He has little toesies. Very Bigfoot-esque, I guess, this figure. Bigfoot-esque? Is that a word? Okay, people, welcome back to another Whoosh review. Tonight I'm looking at the Star Wars Black Series 6-inch Chewbacca. I believe it's Series 5. Are we up to Series 5 now? 4 is Anakin and Clone Trooper. But yeah, Series 5 Chewbacca. And we've been waiting for Chewbacca. It seems like he was announced a while back and we're just now getting him. I dig the packaging. Man, they even had to build a new box for Chewbacca. The window goes around the top now, I guess because of the height. I don't know. Plus I like the blue a lot better. It seems to blend with the black. Looks pretty good. Back of the package is just standard. Like I said, the blue, it sets it off. Chewbacca is a fantastic sculpt. Has the hair all draped down. It's almost too much. And I say that lovingly, I think. I seem to remember, sometimes we couldn't see his hands because of the fur hanging down. I'm completely good with the sculpt. The bad part comes in where it hinders articulation. But I'll get to that here in a minute. Otherwise, hell, just Chewbacca standing on the shelf is awesome enough. And this figure is huge. I mean, I didn't expect him to be this large. Here he is with Han. And it's appropriately large, I think. It may be slightly tall, but I expect Chewbacca to be tall, so it works. Paint, you can see kind of the darker color on the upper arms and the upper torso here. There's no transition. It just dark brown, light brown. That's it. Dark brown, light brown. Same with the legs. Dark brown, light brown. This one has it faded down a little bit better. And the head, it kind of fades back and forth. And it catches your eye, but it's not terrible. Well, it does kind of look like he's wearing a, mid-sleeve shirt, tank half shirt. When I opened him up, his elbows were turned around backwards, so you couldn't get a lot of range, but you notice it because the hair is hanging on the inside. His back is a completely separate piece. Nicely sculpted. There's our CE. Now the articulation in the head, you're not getting any forward and back. You're not getting a lot of turn. And you're not getting much side to side. He does cock to his left. Straight up and down to the left. Now that is because of his bandolier. That's so it can go underneath the fur of his... That's what the space is for. So it hides under there. So with the bandolier on, looks great. But you're not going to get any head movement. Hardly. Even though it's on a head ball. Now it looks like a Wookiee costume hanging on a rack. That's weird. The front of the face is hollow. The ball is in the back. I may have to investigate that at some point. I almost half want to glue the bandolier down just to keep it from flopping around. I can't. For some reason, that's just a pet peeve. I can't stand it whenever it just falls. Articulation wise, we already went over the head, arm, hinge and swivel all the way around. The elbow has fur around it, so you're only going to get about almost 90. And it's a hinge and swivel. Hinge and swivel hand. Turn. The torso is weird. There's a swivel up high, about midsection. It doesn't go forward or back, but there's a lower torso. It turns, and it kind of hinges forward or back. So you get a little crunch there. And back. So I don't know if the top one is too tight. I can't seem to make it go. Hinge and swivel hips, but fur hanging down. It's not, the fur isn't stiff. It's just, you know, too stiff for him to sit down. What's weird is the upper legs don't have any sculpt on it. It's just a top of the leg. He's got a swivel at the upper thigh, hinge and swivel knee. It gets about 90. Hinge at the ankle, back, forward, and then he's got a pin into the front of his foot for the rocker action, which is always nice. So he's posable, yes, but you know, the fur hinders the articulation, so he's just going to be a set piece for the most part. He's going to stand behind your Han. He's going to, you know, just stand. Not a lot of action poses. Now, he came with his bowcaster, and in the package it comes with the front separate. And it took me a minute to figure it out. I was thinking that it couldn't go there. It doesn't come with instructions. But then, you know, I figured out there's a peg right on the front. And it just pegs right on there. When I can see the little thing. I don't know if there's an upside down. It doesn't look like there's an upside down. But it just pegs right on. It stays pretty good. Now the top scope, I guess, does come off. I accidentally knocked it off whenever I was putting it in his hand. But and then it took a minute for me to figure out there's a slide and a groove in here. So you have to kind of put it on, slide back, and then it locks down. And you can see which way it goes because a round part of the sculpt right here. And then it fits right into the round part of the groove. So slide on, push down, and it's all assembled. I don't know if that was meant to come off. It's kind of cool. And just like, you know, the vintage bowcaster, which I guess is just that, wasn't it? I can't seem to remember. It's been a long time. It's got the stock on here that is kind of screwbally in his hand. But for the most part, the weapon is, you know, it's sculpted pretty nice. Has a pipe running right here. Both sides are different. I never understood the bowcast part. Part of me wants this to be back a little bit, but I'll figure that out. Another good thing about this coming off is when you go to put it in Chewie's hand, his hands are stiff. I mean, there's not a lot of give to his fingers. And he has 2 trigger fingers, so it's probably not that pliable because the whole back of the hand has this hair sculpt coming over it, so it doesn't bend back whenever you open it up. And when I'm forcing it in, I'm always afraid of breaking this. So I just kind of pry open a little bit and jam it in there backwards. Like that. And then twist his hand, twist it around. Making sure the trigger is on there we go. Now, there's no way I'm putting his finger in that trigger. That's just asking for trouble. And because of the hand articulation, it looks, you know, pretty good. You can bring it around. Put the end of his bow, I guess, back on. And it looks pretty good. It's hard to kind of get into two-handed pose. There's no way I'm opening the other hand, but you can fake it. It looks okay. One of the other paint things, it kind of looks like, and I haven't looked at reference pictures yet, his nose. It always looks like he's looking up, but he's not. His nose has some pink right here, and I think they meant for the pink to be lower, but the black rides up too high, I think. The fur needed to come down further. I think they just missed with the black mask. And the eyes do look kind of cross-eyed, but it's not too bad. In a perfect world, I would have liked a neutral face. I have all these guys just standing on the shelf. He's got kind of the laugh it up fuzzball, or, you know, that kind of look. Like he's yelling, or, you know, howling, whatever Chewbacca does. Wookiee. I'm happy to get him early. I mean, I'm happy to have Chewbacca. It's a good figure. It's just not a lot of action to it. Even though they tried. I mean, it's not from a lack of trying. There's a fine line on furry characters, you know, between articulation and sculpt. All the articulation's there, but all the sculpt's there too, so it's a trade-off. I'm happy with a good-looking Chewbacca with the articulation aesthetic. So, he'll fit on the shelf. It's a Black Series figure. I may come back and do a dry brush, lighten up some of this dark brown. There you go, Chewbacca. If you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you on the foosh.